In a quiet, unassuming town, a young man named Rahu received life-changing news. He had been offered a promising job in the city of Shiru. Excited yet nervous about relocating to a place he had never been, Rahu thought of an old college friend who had once lived in Shiru. Hoping to gather some insights, he gave him a call. The conversation was helpful, until it turned to a particular individual. "There's a guy named Mark who still lives there," the friend said. "You can reach out to him. He knows the city well. But just a heads up, he's odd. Kind of stingy, self-centered, and honestly, a bit of a coward." Though grateful for the contact, Rahu was left with a preconceived image of Mark, painted entirely by someone else's perspective. Nonetheless, Rahu reached out. Mark was polite, warm, and willing to help. He guided Rahu through the logistics of settling in Shiru, from housing to local tips. Over the weeks, the two grew closer, forming what seemed like a budding friendship. But the seed of judgment had already been planted in Rahu's mind. One afternoon, Rahu visited Mark's apartment. It was clean and functional, but something caught his attention: a basic plastic sofa without any cushions. As he sat uncomfortably, Rahu couldn't help but think. Mark has a well-paying job. Why would he choose such a cheap, uncomfortable piece of furniture? Maybe my friend was right, he's just miserly. Later that day, Mark casually showed him a video on his phone, his dog, Cookie, gleefully shredding a plush, expensive-looking couch. "This was my third one," Mark said with a chuckle. "Cookie's still a puppy, he destroys anything soft. I figured I'd stick with something durable until he's older." Rahu smiled outwardly, but inside, he felt a twinge of shame. He had judged too quickly. It was a warm afternoon when Rahu and Mark happened to cross paths with a ragged-looking man near the bustling local market. The man, barefoot and with unkempt hair, rushed up to them with outstretched hands, desperation dripping from his voice. "Mark, please," he begged. "Just a little money this time. I haven't eaten since yesterday." A few heads turned. Whispers rustled through the crowd. Mark stood still, his expression unreadable. "No," he said firmly, but not harshly. "Not again." The man's voice rose, trying to stir sympathy from those around them. "How can you say no? You earn so much, and I'm starving." Rahu watched silently as people began to cast judgmental glances. A few even shook their heads in disapproval. In that moment, Rahu remembered what his college friend had once told him: Mark was cold, unkind, unwilling to help others. But then Mark turned to Rahu and said quietly, out of earshot from the crowd, "He's not starving. I've helped him several times before, more than I can count. But every time, the money went to gambling, not food. I had to draw a line." That one sentence shifted everything. The public had only seen the refusal, but not the countless times Mark had given before, or the reason he no longer could. At social gatherings, community events, or even in the local bazaar, Rahu began to notice a peculiar pattern. Mark always walked a few steps behind his wife, Ruby. She took the lead, buying vegetables, negotiating with vendors, greeting neighbors. Her voice was confident, her posture poised. Mark followed quietly, content to remain in the background, offering silent support. Children giggled. Grown men smirked. Some even whispered mockingly behind cupped palms. "There goes the man who hides behind his wife. He's no leader. He's a shadow. Even the kids think he's weak." In a culture where masculinity was measured by dominance, Mark was viewed as the opposite of what a man should be. To many in Shiru, he was the joke that walked behind his wife. That evening, as the two of them shared tea, Rahu couldn't resist asking. "People talk, you know. Doesn't it bother you?" Mark looked up from his cup and smiled gently. "They say I'm weak because I don't shout, don't lead, don't impose. But I believe in love, not control. Ruby doesn't need me to lead her, she needs me to stand with her." And if that means walking behind her while she shines, so be it. He paused, then added, his voice steady. Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet support, the kind that stays steady when the world is shouting otherwise. In that moment, Rahu saw the truth. Mark wasn't weak. He was strong enough to go against a culture that misunderstood strength itself. Rahu realized he had allowed someone else's opinion to cloud his own. He had plastered a false image onto a man he barely knew. We often judge others through the tinted glass of someone else's experience, forgetting that every person carries a story of their own. True understanding requires patience, openness, and a willingness to look beyond the surface. The quietest people often carry the deepest strength. Judge less. Listen more.